I was in this hopeless mode. The kids are gone, my marriage is done, my business just closed, I just blew a whole bunch of money that I had in my 401k. Everything that I built my life on fell apart.
Was this like the rock bottom moment?
I almost overdosed the night I'm at my sister's house. I remember her by my bedside, like she's trying to wake me up and, you know, she's crying, and I just came out of the hospital after being really, really sick. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and then I got down all the way down to 130 pounds. And the one time that I cried out to God was in that moment. And it wasn't for him to save me. It wasn't for him to heal me. It wasn't for the pain to go away. It was for him to take me. So I'm on the couch and I just hear the door open and like just some random guy walk in, right? Like, so he comes and sits down with me. And to this day, I call him an angel disguised as a plumber, because that's how I felt. I felt like God sent an angel, right? This is the only intervention I could have had. And that was it. That was the defining moment of how everything ended up changing instantly. Like, I was in the state where I was so broken, and right then I surrendered. I just, you know, my hands were up. I'm like, I can't do anything anymore on my own.
It still hits, I don't miss it. It's go, 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 like a go, go flow. And I'm almost done, and I told you so. When I throw these flows like it's Rochambeau, and I ain't too close, it's Joe Smo goes. And I'm on my grind, that is all the time. I do not do breaks, that's right, I stay in dry. And look, I'm back with a little bit of that, a little more cash than it came in with. Ready, that cat is out that bag, but I still ask you, the boy got skills. I don't need her, I don't need him, I don't need help with me, I got this. I can sing songs, I can spit raps, and I can do both, and even do this, word.
Mark Harris, welcome to the On the Stacks podcast.
Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you. You know, this episode, well, first of all, it is our 250th. I think everybody obviously knows that, you know, before even clicking play on this episode. But this episode is literally 250 episodes in the making.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've thrown your name around many a times on many episodes. You know, and have shared the story of kind of the name On the Stacks and kind of where it came from. And you were the first, I'll say,
yeah,
like you were like the first like outsider type person that, besides myself, taking the pictures on the stacks way back in the day in 2019.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time ago, man.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, congratulations on 250, right?
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It is, yeah. And, you know, I feel like, you know, I know we've been planning this, well, subconsciously for 250 episodes.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, why didn't you invite me sooner? I mean, what's going on?
You know, I was waiting until you bought that. I was waiting until you got that hat, man.
Oh,
you know, so now,
I get you.
It's like now you got that hat. I was like, all right, so thanks for showing up and wearing the swag. Yeah.
Brand advocacy.
Yes, right. I need my guests to come and have a commercial for me the whole episode. So I appreciate it.
Whatever I can do. Man.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, so the you know, up until like not long ago, and I know I've said this before. I know you and I talked about this offline too, but I'll just say it for everyone else to hear it. Like,
yeah,
and I'm not joking when I say like this episode really kind of was 250 in the making, because, you know, you and I, obviously the history of us, we go back way to our Verizon days a long time ago, my first job out of college. But again, fast forward to before I even started the podcast, a year before that, when it was just the pictures on social media, which everybody knows, you know, the OGs of this whole thing know what that is. And, you know, then once I started the podcast, you know, again, so all those years, like, you've always been like on my mind. You know, sometimes we'd connect, and sometimes, you know, I know I broke your heart. I know.
No, just the fact that you said that I've always been on your mind.
Well, because that
warms my heart.
Oh, okay, good. I thought that was like my heart's aching.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Because like I said, I mean, put it this way. I mean, anytime, whether it's on the show or not, anytime I talk, whenever someone's like, oh, where's the name come from? I mean, I tell the story, and you're part of that story pretty much every single time that I tell it, because it really is, you know, part of the story of how the name developed when you sent me that message.
Right.
But yeah, so like I said, this is one of those things where sometimes, and this has happened with like some other people, with two other guests and things, just in life in general, not just this show, but like things happen when they're supposed to happen. Like I firmly believe that like everything happens, I'll say, for a reason, and at the right time, and at the right time that it's supposed to happen. And not that I didn't feel like it was the wrong time to have you on before this, but like 250 is now more than ever, it's the right time.
Yeah.
It just is.
No, and we talked about that as well. I'm all about in God's time. I'm all about the right time. Like,
just letting it work out.
Just letting it happen organically, not forcing anything, and just just leaving it in God's hands and seeing how he does everything. And that's exactly it, right? It happened when it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Of course I thought about it as well too, is like, hey, is Bill maybe going to invite me on sometime? No.
Yeah, like when? Like, holy crap, it's been 5 years, man.
No, honestly, it was never like that.
Yeah. I know.
I was cheering for you on the sidelines at all times, man, and just watching. And I think this is such a wonderful story, just the way it happened, because it did happen organically. It wasn't like you were planning a podcast or anything like that, or even have thoughts of it in your head. It's just like, I was working some random place. You were obviously at your dad's business and all that, and doing what you're doing, and just so happened that we came back together in that way. And I was selling copiers, which was one of the worst jobs I ever had. So
you don't even need to explain it. And I mean, I don't really know much about the job, but I can imagine. I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, no. So I stuck it out for as long as I could, but that was the whole thing of how we came back together, right? It was like,
that's right. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna go tour the facility and see what machines you have, and kind of take a tour and learn some stuff, and maybe there's a sales opportunity there for me, and I already have a connection, so that all worked out. But if it weren't for that visit, just think about that though, right? If true. If
you didn't take that job,
if I didn't take, so like I said, everything happens for a reason, and it was all a series of events up to that.
Yeah.
And like,
because you must have gotten that job right around when I started doing the picture thing. Because literally, like when you sent me, hey, can I come take a picture on dem stacks, right? Those are the exact words for those that maybe
on
just
dem
hearing,
stacks,
hearing it for the first time.
Because I talk super ghetto.
So do I. So it's all good. This is you're at home here. This is home.
There you go.
But yeah. So when you sent me that message, I'm like, you must have just started. Like not long before that.
Yeah. It wasn't. I was just kind of dipping my feet in that, and seeing where it went, but. Yeah, I mean, it happened for this reason.
Yeah, it did.
So thank God that I took that copier job. Thank God that, we set up that time to go ahead and tour the facility and whatever else happened, and then just getting that picture. And I love it. It's like, 6 years now? Wow.
Yeah, 6 years.
How it started and how it's going. This is it right here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is how it's going.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll have to I'm going to do a side by side. We'll do a side by side picture frame from something like this. I mean, I'll cut that original picture into the show.
Yeah,
so I mean, I know it's I'm pretty sure I've shared it on social media probably 10 times over the last 5-6 years. But yeah, I'll have to cut it into the episode here, and we'll have to do we'll do a side by side from then and now. But yeah, man, it's been awesome. And before that, and obviously one of the other things I know we'll probably talk a lot about it is your journey and your addiction and sobriety story, which is a hell of a story.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And I forget, like, so by the way, I'm trying to go back. So prior to, like, when you reached out, like when you had that job, and then you're like, hey, can I come get that picture? Obviously at that point you were sober, like you already had gone through all that, and I think you had been sober for quite a little bit of time. And I forget when you even told me that first story, because I was trying to look back before you came in today. I was trying to look back to see, and I couldn't find. I don't know if you maybe sent me some messages somewhere. I think you might have maybe a different phone number or something at some point, but I couldn't find like the original messages, because I remember, I think and I don't know, you might have just maybe text me something like a brief of everything that he had gone through, but it was like, it wasn't very detailed, but it was detailed enough that I was like, oh my God, what the hell did he go through? And then maybe we talked on the phone or we met up. I can't remember, but I don't remember when that was, and that you reached out and like told me the story.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I mean,
maybe it was just in person when we had that lunch.
We'll put it this way. A lot of those years were a big blur to me. So I was like missing in action from a lot of people's lives at that time because of the whole situation. And even after getting over that, the recovery and getting back on my feet and trying to establish myself again, and there's a whole lot there, man. It's like, it's so crazy. I mean, from the time that me and you met, at Verizon and all that, I think a lot of it, it just started from then, because I was battling a disease, a stomach disease, ulcerative colitis.
And I, it's funny you say that now hearing you say that again, I do remember even back. So, I started there, it was 2011, I think.
Yeah.
And so I do remember you like, when we were working, I do remember sometimes you saying about the ulcerative, I can't even say ulcerative colitis.
Ulcerative colitis.
Whatever you say. Yeah. That, whatever that is. Yeah.
That thing.
That thing. A tongue twister here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like you even saying a little bit then. So it started that far back.
Yeah. So I battled that for a good 10 years, and it's so crazy. This is my work ethic is, work until I can't. And that's how it was. And on top of that, married back then, children, 3 kids.
Yeah. And how old were you then? Because I remember, I remember.
You make me doing basic
that was
math
14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Yeah, 14.
I'm 42 now, so 28.
Oh shit! Yeah, wow. Okay. Holy crap. Yeah. You were 28, and I was like 22.
Yeah. So I was kind of raising kids since like 2002. So or in my early 20s and all that. So kind of just living that family life up until then, but. Yeah, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and that was a real big battle for me. And when you saw me, I was always really good at I'm a salesperson, right? So I was always really good at putting on a good face, and nobody ever knows what's going on in my life, and everything's good, and this, that, the other thing. And I during that time, I was struggling a lot with that, and then being a good father and taking, my wife at that time, she stayed home and I had to support the family and all that. So it was a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress and stuff. And obviously, any sickness or disease, stress is like the worst thing to put on it. So
the stress on
being in, a high stress sales job. Right?
Was it high stress? Come on.
Yeah,
a little bit. Just a little bit.
It's what have you done for me lately, right? You're always like running on that hamster wheel, trying to keep up.
Yeah, that's why I didn't stay there long.
Yeah. Well, I 10 years. Honestly, I could say probably if I didn't get sick the way I did, I would probably still be there.
Yeah.
Because I love that job. I started as a temp and then, all the way up. So,
yeah, that's right.
But that was kind of like my career path. I was like, this is going to be what I do. This is where I retire. But, but life has its twists and turns, So, I battled ulcerative colitis for 10 years. And like I said, you saw me when I was in the store. I would get to the point, honestly, where I would work up into the point where I had to go right from work to the hospital.
Really?
Yeah. And be admitted. That's how I would end up doing it.
Wow.
With, like I said, that's my work.
I even knew that.
That's my work. Yeah, a lot of people didn't because I was
you
good at hiding,
you never complained.
I wasn't showing it, but I was hitting the bathroom like 25 times a day, and then bleeding and this and that, losing like 10 pounds in a week, and it was really rough. But so that all happened, and then I got to the point where I went in to the GI doctor, after having all these flare-ups and I don't know how many times I was admitted to the hospital, but had all these flare-ups, and it got to the point where, I had to go in the one time, see a GI doctor, and then he referred me to a surgeon. Because at that point, after 10 years of active colitis and all these flare-ups and the medicine not working, I was real high risk of colon cancer. And I watched my mom take her last breath from lung cancer. So I was like, okay, whatever we got to do, I'm not messing around here. My kids are young. I want to be there for my kids and all that stuff. Whatever has to be done, that's how I'm going to move forward. So I ended up talking to a surgeon, and then, he suggested that I have what was called a J-pouch surgery. Basically, all 5 feet of my colon is out right now. So they had to. It was that bad. Wow. When they looked at it, they're like, "This is kind of the direction that we got to go." So basically, what they do, it's the technology these days is really crazy, right?
Yeah.
So because most people are like, "What do you mean you don't have a colon? Can you live without a colon?" I'm like, I'm standing right here. So right.
Yeah.
I'm just making the story up, but they remove all 5 feet of my colon. They make actually a pouch out of your small intestine.
Okay.
And then everything runs through your small intestine, and how it's supposed to regulate. Unfortunately, though, it never worked out for me, right? Like everything that could have happened and what went wrong, it did. Everything. I had I had an emergency surgery after they took my colon out, laparoscopic, because my bowels twisted. So I was like going septic. So they had to rush me in. I was like green from like here all the way down to my knee. And I was like, I felt it inside that like my organs were shutting down. Like I was
Wait,
like,
you were awake at this point?
I was this was after I had my initial surgery of getting my colon out.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
so you're home recovering?
I'm not in, no, I'm in the hospital right now. But, I started feeling weird, and then they found out my bowels were twisted.
So like they didn't know.
No, they didn't. How they knew is that I was turning green on the outside.
Oh.
So, so I was on my way going into being septic shock at that point. So, I had an emergency surgery because the first was laparoscopic, and then cut me all the way down, like right down. So, that was tough. That was tough. There's a lot of recovery time and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a young man here, like walking with a cane,
Yeah. How old were you at that point? So what year was that?
So
this was after I left Verizon.
Yeah. So this is about 2013.
Okay. Yeah. So that was only like a year after I left.
Yeah, it's about 2013, I believe, that all this started happening. And so recovery was tough. I had to learn how to use my stomach muscles again. It was, like I said, I was walking with a cane the whole
I think
time.
I remember even coming in the store. Like now, again, I'm already gone from there, but I think I remember coming back to the store, and just as a customer at this point. And I think I remember you having. I think you had it. You probably had it in the store, didn't you? I remember. Well,
I came back.
Yeah.
I tried to come back. Working for Verizon again. I was on disability, obviously, for a little bit. I ended up coming back, tried to make it work, but I was still in rough shape and still needed so much recovery that it just didn't happen. And so around that time as well, I was going through a lot of stuff with my marriage. We ended up separating, getting my own place. She's still in the house. So there was even more stuff going on at that time, trying to recover from a surgery and all that, and then just going through all that. And this, where obviously is the introduction, and this is a lot of people's story, right? This is the introduction of pain medication and this medication and that medication. And at one point in the beginning, of course, this was all necessary. Like the pain medication was necessary where I was at because, I had all these surgeries, this, that, their thing, I needed it at that time to be able to really, function in the right way. But, as, like I said, as many stories go, as time goes on and you continue to use these things, it becomes an addiction, whether you want it to become an addiction or not. Yeah. Right. So here I am, like 3.5 years later, and, I'm still using all this medication. And, basically the story was for me is that now I'm using all this stuff for the wrong reasons. Right. I'm going through all this stuff. I'm going through stuff with, a divorce and custody and this and that. And that was kind of like my escape now from all this stuff that I got going on in life. And I'm going out and partying and doing this and that. And like, and that's why I said a lot of that time is like a blur for me because, I was on so much medication, so much that I was, even buying it. Because what I was getting, what I was prescribed was not enough. And, it was a lot to begin with. And then on top of it, going out and just randomly buying stuff because, a 9 or a 30-day worth of medication, Oxycontin, oxycodone, Xanax, Ambien, you name it, man. I was on a cocktail thing. I don't know how I functioned properly, right? I had something to wake up. I had something in the middle of the day to make me happy. I had something here, I had something that, anxiety, this, depression, go to sleep. I had something for everything. And it was just kind of like mixed together all throughout the day. And that's what I was so used to for so long. And it really it made me a zombie. It really did. It kind of took my personality away from me, and who I was. Like my identity was gone because of it. And that's the scary part, right? And the even scarier part is that I think that I'm acting normal towards people that I know, and that they can't see all this stuff happening in my life when it was clear as day. So yeah, so just like, I'm trying to sell that, and you're looking at me and you're like, okay,
yeah,
pal,
bro, you gotta, something's wrong.
Yeah. We know you're not right. We've seen you here, and now we've seen you here. So
yeah.
So that was a rough time of my life, and throughout that time I was on long-term disability still from, Verizon, which, I mean, that was a blessing that they were able to kind of extend that courtesy to me with the disability. But I'm living life how I shouldn't be. I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing. And the one thing that kind of broke my heart is, through this whole thing, because I was so messed up, my kids got taken away for like 8 months or so. And I look back on it now and I'm like, what a blessing that was. Because I was mad at the time that happened, but I'm like, thank God they got taken away, because they weren't good in my care. Like, I couldn't even take care of myself at that point. So I'm like, so looking back, I thank God about that all the time. I'm like, wow. I'm like, thank you for protecting my kids at that time. Right. So, but look at that. So here's the addicted mindset, right? Like, something big like that happens to me in my life. My kids get taken away, right? That should be a big deal, and be like, hey, dude, you should like start getting better and do something different in your life. No, it just gave me more freedom, because I didn't have to look after them now. So
now you have more time to go party, and
it just gave me more freedom to do that, right? And that's the weird addicted mentality, because it's like what you think would be a wake up call in somebody's life, and something big. I got in 4 different car crashes until here's a story. Like, I was on my way to pick up pills in a certain area. No, I was on 380, and I was on my way to pick up pills. I knew I shouldn't have gone out that day. It was a big snowstorm, right? But hey, I'm out of pills and I don't want to go through these withdrawals and all that stuff. So I'm driving my Mazda CX-5 I had at the time. I'm driving, obviously too fast, because I want to get there and get what I need. I'm in the left lane going ahead and passing somebody. And it was when we had a couple big snowstorms that year, but I ended up drifting a little bit. And then my front left side hit like some hard snow, and my car started flipping.
Just like that.
Yeah. So
it was a single car crash.
I remember.
Yeah, I kind of remember you telling me the story like years ago.
Just me. So and this was all God. This is a God story. That's why I love telling it, because I hit that, and then I started flipping, and I heard a voice say, "Just go with it." Clear as day. Just go with it. And then I felt like there was like just this comfort and warmness around me.
As you were midair.
Like a warm blanket. Yeah, it was
as you
totally
were
slow motion. And I rolled 3 times.
Once you hit.
Yeah, I was going through the motions. I rolled 3 times. I landed on all 4 of my wheels right in the middle of both highways. Like the little dip in the highways. Right in the middle of the highways. I open my door. I get out, I stand there, and there's this guy that comes running from across the other side of the highway, and he comes down to me. He's like, thank God that you're standing here. He's like, I saw that from the other side of the highway. He's like, I didn't think anybody was getting out of that. So praise God, right? So my car at that time automatically calls emergency services, and they come, and I was fine. I was like,
so you had your seatbelt on, obviously.
I was,
right?
I had my seatbelt on. I was good. I was ready. I was like, take me home. Take me home.
Like, you had anything broken, scratches? I mean, maybe some minimal stuff.
No, like I got out like I was good, right? So they come and they're like, you should just go to the hospital, just
get checked
precautions, just to see if they. So they come run tests and stuff. I had a bruised liver and bruised lung. That was it. They released me the next day. Nothing. I was good, right? So once again, here's the addicted mentality. That just happened in my life. Just crashed my car, totaled my car, all that stuff. And do I stop doing what I'm doing? No. You know why? Because I got lucky, right? And I'm looking at it, it's like all these lucky events, and I'm like, and this is how I can look back, and see God's hands in my life. because it wasn't luck, it was God protecting me throughout all these times. And I wasn't even seeking or searching for him at that time. That's the beauty of it. He's, God has big plans, and he wants to see him out. So yeah, that whole thing happened, and I'm still back using and all that stuff. And, time goes on, and,
so how bad was the addiction at this point? Now you're pretty far into this, I feel like, right?
Well, just put it this way. Here's how bad the addiction was. I know you probably don't know, pain medication and milligrams and stuff like that, but I was taking 60 milligram Oxycontin. I was taking 90, 20 milligram oxycodone. That was from the pain doctors that I went to. Right. Then from my regular doctor, I was getting 10 milligram of Ambien. I don't remember what the highest Xanax was at that time, but I'm getting like
how long
high doses of everything.
And how long did all this last? Like this is probably like a 30-day prescription, right?
A 30-day prescription lasted me 2 weeks, sometimes less.
Wow. And also, not to mention, I know, like you said, like some people may not understand the dosages, and I kind of do, but kind of don't. But you're also on probably the extremely high dosages of everything as well.
Yes. Yeah. So 60 is a high dose. It goes up. I think 80 is kind of the tops on that.
Yeah. So you're pretty much almost topped out.
So yeah, I'm like,
and you're doing it all, and you're taking it all along with everything else.
Like my tolerance now is so high on this medication because I've been taking it for so long, and I've been taking so much. And honestly, I mean, at that time, I was way skinnier than I am now. And like this stuff, probably enough that you could knock out an elephant. And I just need this to actually function on a daily basis. That's why I said I was in zombie land, right? So yeah, all these crazy things happen. I end up totaling my car, flipping it, getting out of that. And, all these things, these close encounters, these close near death encounters,
so you like
right?
Several of these, like
because well, I mean, a lot had to do with my surgeries and stuff like that. Like,
right.
Yeah, I had a lot of infections that I ended up having to get emergency surgeries for, and this and that. And that's kind of was another thing that kept knocking me down, is that my health was not getting any better.
Like it just either kept getting worse.
It's like I would get a little bit, make a little bit of progress, and then I would get knocked back down. So here's, in my mental, emotional, and everything else, like that's playing a role in all this, because I feel, I'm anxious all the time. I'm living in fear. I'm depressed because of this, that, the other thing. And that was my solution, right? Pills are the solution for me at that time. So time goes on with that. I end up getting really sick again. To the point where I had to be in the hospital again because of infection, whatever. I think it was this time that they ended up puncturing my lung.
Mm.
So they were putting a PICC line in, and it goes right down by the lung and heart and all that stuff. So they put a PICC line in, and they punctured my left lung.
Oof.
So that was one of the worst out of all the things that happened to me. That was like one of the worst things, because I was trying to take a breath. I was like, tearing, crying, and all that stuff. Just crazy time. And I always like to bring this up, because I was like, I wasn't serving God back then. And the one time that I cried out to God was in that moment. And it wasn't for him to save me. It wasn't for him to heal me. It wasn't for the pain to go away. It was for him to take me. Like at that point, I didn't want it. Like I've been through so much, I didn't want anything to do with life at that time.
You didn't want to live anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of like I was at the point where it's like, just I've been through it all at this point. Like if I'm not better now, if like everything that seemed could have went wrong in my life totally went wrong. Right. I'm going through this, I'm going through that. My health's not any better. My kids are gone, a divorce, all this stuff that's going on.
Did you have the business, and you started the business?
I started a business, which was dumb for me to do.
Yeah. Was this all that already crashed too at that time?
Well, yeah. So I started up a tattoo shop with a buddy, all the way out in Marshalls Creek. I don't know. This is just a totally dumb idea. He's the one who did the tattoos on me, and then we just started talking. He was a friend from high school. And we're like, oh, it'd be really cool if we, had a tattoo shop and all that. And stupid me, I'm in this time where, I'm not thinking right. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be really, I know nothing about tattooing, know nothing about business, nothing, no research, nothing. Okay, cool. I got some money in my 401k. Let me just take it out and start this business, this random business, and think that we're going to become millionaires. I think for me at that time, it was more like bragging rights. Like, hey,
we're doing this.
You sound really cool because you have a tattoo business.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm going out to, and partying at these different places and like
throwing that out there.
I get to be, as a young man, I get to tell people, hey, I have a tattoo. I'm the owner of a tattoo business. Right.
Yeah.
So it was more for that than anything. And that business, it didn't last. But this is all through the time that I was going through that stuff. We had to shut that down in like the matter of a few months.
That fast?
Yeah, it was quick. Because I got to the point where I couldn't even, like, I was in rough shape. So I ended up going and living with my sister because I was really bad. I didn't have my kids, nothing to worry about. She took me in. I was staying upstairs. She had my nephews there and all that stuff. And I was just in an upstairs room the whole time, just isolating myself. Like, I didn't want anything to do with anybody, and that's not my personality, right?
No, that's not you.
My favorite thing is talking to people. That's it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm upstairs in the room. Now I'm in, and I got to show you the picture because this will kind of define. Like, I could just show this picture to people.
Which one? Which one is it?
The picture of when I just came out of the hospital after being really, really sick. I was in the hospital for 2 months. And then I got down all the way down to 130 pounds.
Wow.
Like, I had I had a line in my neck. I had 3 ports on a line in my neck. One they were feeding me through. Another was for antibiotics, and the third was for pain medication. So I was in the hospital for 2 months. I was in CMC for a month, and then I went to aftercare. And I was in there another month. I was the youngest person in there by like 50 years. It's just a bunch of older people like trying to recover from certain things. So after that, I end up getting out of there, and that's when I go and stay with my sister. And what happens after I leave? Well, guess what? I have prescriptions for all this type of medication again, right? So
the doctors and hospitals, and not blaming anyone or trying to stir up any conversation about that, but so like they just willingly prescribed all this stuff again. Like, didn't they realize like what was going on with you?
Well, I mean, my surgeon definitely did. That's why he handed me off to like a pain clinic.
Okay,
because he's like, I can't keep prescribing you stuff and all that stuff. But you have a legitimate issue,
right?
When you go to a pain clinic, and they test you all the time too to see if you're taking anything outside of what you're being prescribed. Okay. And I wasn't,
like any other illegal drugs.
I wasn't taking anything different. I was just taking more of what they prescribed me. So when it came up with the test, it was the same stuff that they were prescribing me anyway. So, so after I ended up getting out, I have all these prescriptions. I go fill all these prescriptions again because.
Why not? Yeah.
So I'm at the point then where, once again, I wasn't, I guess I fell into where I became hopeless. Right. So after I get back to my sister's house, like I said, she's helping me out and all that stuff because, I have my kids to take care of. I can't really take care of myself at this point. I'm in really rough shape. So I fill all these prescriptions and I go back to doing what I normally do, right? Even worse this time because once again, I was in this hopeless mode. My kids are gone. My marriage is done. My business just closed. I just blew a whole bunch of money that I had in my 401k. Everything that I built my life on fell apart right then, right? Like, it was all gone. So I'm thinking to myself, man, it's too much. I'm never going to get back to where I need to be, right? So
was this like the rock bottom moment?
I would say. Yeah, I would say because so now I'm in the place where before I knew how to drug responsibly. It's funny to say, but you
kind of like knew your limits enough.
Any type of person that's been addicted
can relate.
Will know that, hey, I know how to drug responsibly because I know how much to take and not take too much.
Okay.
so I have all these prescriptions, and at this point, I wasn't trying to kill myself. I didn't have suicide on my mind, but I feel like that I was so hopeless that I didn't really care what happened, whether I lived or died. You know, I wasn't trying to make those attempts, but but
if something happened, you'd be like, well, whatever.
If something happened, yeah, I was like, I don't have anything to live for anymore at this point. You know, that's how I felt. But, you know, like I said, I didn't have a plan of like, I'm going to attempt to kill myself. I was just taking just a cocktail of pills, and whatever happened. Right. So, I almost overdosed the night I'm at my sister's house. I remember her by my bedside, like she's trying to wake me up, and, you know, she's crying, and that broke my heart, because I hate to see my sister, like me and my sister, super close. Like we grew up in a single parent household. So it was just like me and her all the time. We're like best friends in that way. So to see her like that and see her that scared of, you know, of that, I guess she said I was biting my tongue, and I was just acting really crazy. So she ended up calling the ambulance and all that stuff. They come, they're kind of evaluating me and all that stuff. At this point, I'm back to it. And they're asking me questions. I was able to answer, and they're like, do you want, like, they can't take me against my will if I'm able to like answer these questions and be coherent. So they're like, hey, do you want to go to the hospital or anything like that? And I was like, no, I'm good. So I didn't go to the hospital that night. But
was she pissed at you?
Probably. Yeah. She was probably like, please just do it.
Yeah.
So here's a turning point in this whole situation. And I always say my story is his glory. Right? Because here's the turning point. So my sister worked for a plumber. She used to do his bookkeeping and a lot of different things. She became friends with him, real devout Christian. He's kind of in the process of leading her more to the Lord and all that. And that next day, she ends up reaching out to him and saying, hey, are you willing to come sit and talk to my brother? Right? This guy doesn't know me from anything. Right. So I'm on the couch, and I just hear the door open, and like just some random guy walk in. Right. And like, you know, so he comes and sits down with me, and to this day, I call him an angel disguised as a plumber, because that's how I felt. I felt like God sent an angel. Right. Because this is the only intervention I could have had. Like I like my sister.
Like you wouldn't have listened to anyone or anything.
I was too prideful. I was too
nothing
stubborn.
to live for.
I didn't even want people to know. Like it was embarrassing to me for people to know, outside of obviously my sister knows, because
but you just kind of dug yourself in a hole and didn't want to come
I was so prideful. I'd rather just die than even like open up to people about any of it. Right? Like that's scary.
It is scary.
That's a scary place to be.
Yeah.
So he sits down with me, and he starts talking about Jesus and the Lord and this, that, the other thing. And I've heard this a million times over up until that point, right? But you know, a while back, I was my own God. Nobody would tell me anything. I would determine my own destiny. You couldn't talk to me about anything spiritual or anything like that. Like I had my mind set in that. There's another part of the pride, right? So he sits down with me, and he starts talking, and I don't remember the whole conversation. But the one part that I remember that he said was, you wouldn't jump out of a plane without a parachute, would you? And I was like, no, that's kind of dumb. Why would you do that? Right? Like and he's like, well, that's how it is living your life without Jesus. And at that moment, as broken as I was, the world didn't make sense to me. I was lost, confused, and broken. And all that. At that moment, that hit my heart. Just him saying that phrase, some random guy that I don't know, just sitting down with me. And I thank God that people are faithful in that way, that are willing to answer the call when God says go, right? That he was willing to sit down with me, take the time out of his day, sit down and speak those words to me. And that moment changed my whole entire life. It's the reason why I'm here today. It really is. So after that conversation with him, I love it. It gives me chills every time. And it will never stop giving me chills, because it's such a beautiful moment and turning point in my life.
What was your response after that? Like I know you said a little bit. Like what else did you say?
Yeah, I don't remember
Like,
too much more of the conversation. That was kind of like the highlight part of the conversation because everything else, like that's what made sense to me.
Right.
And he put it in such simple terms, right? It's like it's not rocket science to figure out. It's not like a parable. It wasn't anything like that. But it was just like, hey, here's real life, and this is what it looks like, and then this is what it looks like as well, side by side. And I'm like, wow, that totally makes sense. And somebody needed to speak in simple terms to me at that point because I was so messed up.
Yeah.
My brain was just fried. It was messed up. I was confused and all that. So that was a total changing point in my life. And after that, so I end up, I'm like, man, I need to get my life back together. Right. I'm like, I'm starting to think about my kids, for the sake of my kids, I got to get my life back together.
So what was the plan? Did you guys come up with a plan?
Well, my plan was to get myself into rehab.
Was your plan different than theirs?
No, not necessarily. They kind of, like this is a starting point. This is what you need to do. Right. But that's like, I wasn't open to rehab anytime before that. Well, because I don't have such a problem that I can't manage before that, right?
Yeah. You controlled it. What did you say before? You were able to control.
Oh, you drug responsibly.
Yeah, drug responsible.
Yeah, it sounds really stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah,
it does,
not responsible. Yeah, not responsible at all.
There's no such thing as drugging responsibly.
Yeah.
So I end up actually calling a rehab center, and they didn't have a bed. So now, like, I have to wait. Which this is a difficult moment for me now, right? Because I have to wait now.
Yeah, you're finally willing to do it. Now it's like, oh, now I can't go?
I had to wait 2 weeks to get in the bed. So I had, at that point, and that's a difficult thing. Like, you're in addiction, all that. A lot of things can happen in 2 weeks.
A lot of things can happen in 24 hours or less, probably.
Right.
Let alone 2 weeks.
Exactly. So, but, my personality, because I'm the type to push everything to the limit. Like when I finally got to the point where my mind was set on this is what I'm doing, nothing was going to stop me at that point, right? So I took that stubbornness and the pridefulness that I was using with drugs, and then I kind of focused that on like, now I have to use that to get better.
So you used it for good.
Yeah. So yeah, it took me 2 weeks to get in rehab.
So did you use during those 2 weeks?
Well, my sister at that point had to kind of manage everything. So I gave her all my pills and all that. And, she had to manage when I was taking it. And because otherwise
so
I would have went through, I was on so much stuff, man. I would have went through such a wicked withdrawal.
Well, by the way, how did you not like go to like the street and like do like, turn to like heroin or anything at all during any of this?
I can't say I didn't a couple times.
So you did?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But it was only actually a couple times. And that's the disgusting part, because I was like, man, I would never do anything like that.
Now, this was before this point?
Yeah, this was before at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was like, I would never, ever think about doing something.
Like, oh, I'm not that guy.
Like, I'm not that guy. Yeah.
But you ended up being that guy.
But I ended up being that guy because I was so into this.
You just needed it.
I was all in.
Wow.
I was all in. It didn't matter what it was at that point.
Really?
It didn't matter what you called the drug. I was all in.
You're just like, I'll take it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was only a couple times, but, yeah, I kind of was like, no, I'm not. I was at a point where I was like, no, I'm not gonna go down that route.
How did you have enough in you to like not? Because I mean,
I don't know.
Everybody says like once you do that like you're that's it. You're now onto that now.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. I guess it was just kind of like an in between with my pills and stuff like that. So it was kind of like just fill in the gap for a little bit in the interim until I got my prescriptions filled, or I was able to buy those from somewhere else.
You're like, oh, good, I'm back to this.
Exactly. So I ended up getting a rehab, and I spent 22 days in rehab. And this is the crazy part, because so they detox you. They give you some medication to detox you and all that stuff. I think it took me about 3 or 4 days to get everything out of my system. But I was so convinced up to that point that my body was in such pain that I needed these things so bad And that's why I was so convinced in telling people how much I needed it and convinced myself. After I detoxed and got all the stuff out of my system, I had no pain in my body at all. So there was just a lie that was going on in my head, in my, like, I think I was convincing myself that I was still in the pain that I was originally in, and that's why I needed it.
Wow.
Right. So yeah, 22 days. And, during my time in rehab was great because after all this stuff is out of my system, I actually had a real laugh. I had real emotions again and I loved it. I was like, wow. I was like, this is what it feels like to actually laugh again.
To be a human.
Yeah, because I was so numb for so long. Right. I think, if I would have laughed between that time when it was just fake. And I think most of my emotions were fake at that time. But yeah, I started getting all these real emotions coming back and all that stuff. And 22 days in there. And here's another crazy part of it. Here's another crazy part of it. I drove myself to rehab because it wasn't far from where I live. So my car was right in the parking lot. And most people, if they're like, man, I want to get out of here.
They just
like,
yeah,
they could just leave. Like I had the convenience of my car being parked in the parking lot. On top of that, I had a prescription right in my car that I could have filled.
Oh, wow.
And I could have went right back to it. So
at any point.
Yeah, I could have went right back to it. If I decided to leave rehab and go fill that prescription, I would have been right back to it.
Wow.
Right. So I had one of the people that were working there. I said, you got to walk out with me to my car.
You didn't trust yourself.
Yeah. I said, you got to walk out with me to my car because I have a prescription in my car that I need to tear up. Because if it so happens that I get out of rehab 22 days, whatever it was that I was in there, and I look over and I could fill this prescription anytime I want. It would have been so easier to just go right back to that.
Right.
So we walked out, ripped it up and all that stuff. And that was a big deal for me in that moment too. Right. So yeah, 22 days, drive back home. And here's the next turning point in my life. To God be the glory. There was a church that was where I lived, this big church that I always used to pass. I'm like, that's such a beautiful church. Like if I ever went to church, I would go to a church like that because this looks like a really nice church. I used to pass this thing all the time when it was all messed up. Right. So after I got out of rehab, I think it was probably like a week or two after that, I ended up walking through the doors of the church.
Did you go back to your sister? Were you still staying with your sister at this point?
No, I ended up going back home after that.
Okay.
So I'm back in my apartment. And then I'm like, what do I do at this point? Like I've been so lost. Like I've been on these medications for 3.5 years now. I don't know how else to live. Right. So what do I do at this point? And, something just was like, you got to go check that church out. Like you've tried everything else.
Yes. Like what was your plan? So like you came back and like, I mean, did you have, besides your sister, I mean, did you have anyone to kind of like talk to you, guide you, like anything? Or were you just kind of, besides your sister, were you just kind of like to yourself?
I think at that time, I kind of pushed a lot of people away.
Right.
Yeah. So
you're probably still embarrassed.
I felt alone. Oh yeah. There was tons of emotions going through, and you'll hear it if you ever talk to anybody that has been on pills or any type of addiction for a long time, gets out of it. There's a period where everything in your body has to get back to normal. So you're going through like a roller coaster ride of emotions and stuff. Like now you're happy, now you're like sad again, and you're going through depression, you have anxiety. Like it was just a roller coaster, and it really took a while for me to actually get all of those things back in order. But what helped me was, like I said, I ended up walking through the doors of that church, and now here's me, 140 pounds, soaking wet. I'm just a skinny dude. Because I was so malnourished from everything I went through in the hospital and all that stuff, when I got out of the shower, my hair was falling out. I would dry my hair and I just see hair falling out. And I was like, please, Lord, please, because I don't have the head for that. Like I have an alien head. If I were to shave my head, you would be like, whoa, that's scary.
What happened to Mark's
You'd
head?
be like, put on a hat. Yeah. So I'm like, please don't make me lose my hair. That would be the worst situation for me. So yeah, I'm walking in. I walk through the back doors. I'm totally back row, and I'm just listening to the pastor, and all that. And I'm just like, I'm just totally broken at this point. Broken, like confused. Don't know what my next move is. I didn't have a plan. You asked my plan. I had no plan, and that was the
You were
thing.
just trying to find a plan.
I had no plan. When I got back to my apartment, I sat there for a moment. I was like, I don't even know how to put all this back together. Like, and I was always a guy that, man, I knew what I was doing. I'd do this, do that, whatever. I got it taken care of. But now is a point where I had nothing, right? And this was a good place for me to be, because I had to surrender. I had to submit to something else other than myself, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it. I already tried it. I already messed everything up. So I walk in the church, pastor gives a sermon, and then he does an altar call. Thank God for that. I end up tears in my eyes, just totally broken. I remember this sweet old lady that was sitting next to me. She's like, do you want me to go up with you? And I was like, I'm just bawling. I'm like, yes, please. Yeah. So she took me up to the altar. Thank God for her too. And it's so crazy because that was my church for a long time. And I served in that church, and I didn't see that lady after that. And I greeted at the door for like 2-3 years. So I saw everybody come in and going out. I served in all different, but I didn't see that lady after that. I promise you that. So I went up to the altar, gave my life to the Lord. And that was it. That was the defining moment of how everything ended up changing instantly. Like, I was in the state where I was so broken, and right then I surrendered. I just, my hands were up. I'm like, I can't do anything anymore on my own. There's nothing there for me. Everything got destroyed, messed up, everything that I tried. And so during that time, I was going to all these meetings and stuff like that. And I don't want to speak bad about any AA or anything like that, but the meetings weren't for me. And there was a specific reason for that. They ended up having a recovery meeting in the church. So I started going to that. But what really started me back on that recovery road is that I was just involved in the church. Anywhere where I could serve. I really, like, my heart was kind of like, God really touched my heart to the point where I just had such a desire and a passion and a fire to learn more about him. And this is what it comes down, because this is my personality. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it. Right. So if I'm going to be a Christian, I'm going to be the best Christian. So how do I do that? Like, I got to find out all the steps. So, really started reading a lot in the Bible and starting to, absorb all these things and praying a lot and being involved in the church. Like, I didn't want to be anywhere else other than the church. Like, that's where I was at. And it was the church was such a blessing to me, and I grew a lot and all that stuff. And I mean, here I am today as an ordained pastor. I mean, it's like,
okay, so how many, when was this, by the way? Like, first of all, like, when, do you remember, like, do you remember the exact date of your
so yeah, this is almost 10 years ago.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. So
it's like how God can turn the tables around.
Yeah.
And that's but it took, like, not everybody has to hit that rock bottom part. I did. But, because that happened the way it happened, and I had to get to that place.
Yeah, like, you had to go through it.
Thank God I still had breath in my lungs to make that decision to say, enough is enough. I'm going to give it all to him and just, serve him. And like I said, and looking from that moment and that whole situation up until now is like, every time I get on in the pulpit to, like, speak a message, I'm like, is this real? Is it like, Lord, you chose me to do this? Like I remember a time where I couldn't even take care of myself. Mm-hmm. Nothing. And I'm like, wow, it's amazing how God could just turn things around like that. And that's a miracle. And that's a testimony it's a gift, really. It's a gift that I've been given. That whole testimony. And I always say, you know what? I thank God for the pain that I went through. I thank God for the suffering. I thank God for the bad times. You know, it's easy to rejoice. It's easy to thank God when things are going great. When you got food in the fridge, all your favorite food, and the bills are paid, and everybody in your family's healthy, and it's a nice sunny day out like today. It's like perfect weather for you.
Easy, yeah.
It's easy to be like, man, thank God. Like it's
everything's great. Yeah.
But that's the time I thank God for my pain, my suffering, my dark times, my difficult times. Because if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be alive here.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here right now, for sure.
No.
Locked up in jail, dead, whatever it would be, it wouldn't be the freedom that I have today. And it's not just freedom, in a worldly sense, but I'm so free, like, because I know my identity now and who God created me to be. I'm so free in that way. It's like, you could ask my wife, like, I don't get upset about things. Like, nothing really bothers me in that way because, in perspective, where I was before and where I am now, and how God has just turned everything around and he's made me into this type of person that I was meant to be. And it has, and let me just say this. There was only one thing that I did, and it was to make that decision to say, yes, Lord. And that was it. I take credit for nothing else.
Was this from the conversation with the plumber?
It was right from the conversation with the plumber where all these events.
Where's the plumber at nowadays, by the way?
Oh, I talk to him all the time.
Is he still plumbing?
Yeah. He's got his own business, but hopefully we'll get together. But he's still a part of my life, and I reach out to him randomly, and I'm like, hey man, I love you. Thank you for your faithfulness. Because what if you didn't show up that day?
Yeah.
Right? What if we didn't have that conversation? What if you didn't speak the words? Like the fact that you didn't know me and you took the time out of your day, whatever you were doing, to come and actually talk to me in that moment. And that's why now where I'm at, I have to have that same type of obedience. That's why I got to reach out to people and make sure people are okay. That's why when God puts a name on my heart, that I make sure I text them or call them, hey, how you doing? Everything cool, love you. If you need anything, let me know. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's my mission now. That's my assignment on top of like, and thank you for the opportunity to tell this story, because obviously it's stories like this brings hope to people.
For sure.
Right. Because you see how a mess my life was a long time ago.
You were a wreck, bro.
Dude, I was bad, man.
You were a wreck.
I was a wreck. I was a big old car wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Internally.
Yeah.
But I mean, glory to God. What else could I say, man? And that's why I'm like, wow, all the stuff that I've been through, and there's still more. There's more.
Yeah.
There's more to it. I mean, this is like the big defining moments of my life, which I wanted to talk about. But there's still more there. That it's irrelevant to these bigger things, but there's still a lot more, a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of this, a lot of that.
So I want to go back. So when you said like, this whole thing, when you feel like you finally found yourself, right? Like who you were really meant to be. I mean, do you feel like maybe like your whole life, like even though you may have felt like you thought you knew who you were, like looking back on it, like if you can look back on it now, like, again, before you got sober, like your whole life up until before you got sober, do you feel like you weren't really living who you actually were or want to be? Like, do you feel like not like not saying you were living 100% lie of your life, but do you feel like you like really weren't like your true self, like 100%?
I feel like I was a fraud in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, and this is why. And I feel like we fall victim to this in this world. It's easy to say, man, I don't care. And this was my catchphrase, right? Man, I don't care what anybody thinks about me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people say that.
Yes, yeah.
But
really they do.
But really, you live your whole life, trying to please people, trying to look good in other people's eyes, trying to, stay up with the Joneses is what they say, right? Like all these things. And that's what I felt. I would look successful,
if I did that.
If I had a house with a white picket fence, which we did. We ended up putting a white picket fence up, right? So if I had this with a 2-car garage and a pool in the back and all these things that I'm working for on this worldly level, like if I just had these things, then
that'd be good.
I'm the man, right?
Yeah,
like that defines
I'm cool, yeah.
That defines success.
Yeah.
People are going to look at me and like, wow, he's successful and he's this and he's that, and that it's so funny because I really, really cared what everybody else thought at that moment.
Yeah, so really, you really weren't living for yourself ever.
So no, yeah, and of course when you're raising a family and all that stuff and supporting a family, you become last.
You sacrifice a lot.
You're a family man now, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of what you do and a lot of what you think
revolves around
specifically your family.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I to see where I am today. And in the Bible, it says, the old has gone, the new has come. That's one of my favorite. I'm a new creation in Christ. And God really kind of throughout the whole process of getting to know him more and learning more about him, he taught me more about myself and who my true identity, who am I supposed to be, who he created for me. And I was selfish in a lot of ways as well. Even though, raising kids and a family, I was selfish in a lot of ways. I did a lot of stuff for myself. And really, we're meant to live for one another. We really are. Like that, we're meant to care for each other. Like it's God's design. Like there's 2 top commandments that God speaks about. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. But it says, and I preached on this, it says the second one is equally as important as the first. So really, loving God is loving people.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about it all throughout the Bible, caring for one another, putting other people's needs above your own and all that stuff. So that's where my identity is today, is like, listen, I don't look for credit on anything anymore. I don't care if my name's mentioned. I did something, nothing like that. Like, I'm more like, I'm cheering everybody else on.
I'm just here for it.
I'm cheering everybody else on. I'm cheering you on, man.
Yeah, you've been, man. You always have.
I love the fact that you're at where you're at. I love the fact that you pursued, just that moment. And that was a defining moment for you too, when you took that set and you said, you know what, there's something more here.
Yeah.
There's something more. I'm going to do something more with it, because that's why we're sitting here now, right? Yeah.
And it's funny, it's crazy. There was it was like it was just a little over a year ago that I made that. Well, I mean, I was planning obviously to leave. I mean, that was always part of the plan, and I think you might have known that. But like the jump happened a few months earlier because of my heart incident.
Right.
But it was just about a year ago.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's almost, that 1 year anniversary just passed not long ago at least from the time of this recording,
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Hey man, that's awesome.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. But once again, my life is meant to build up others now, to encourage others, to help other people find their identities and reach their goals. And this, like I still use these same sales skills that I've had now. Now I guess
just in a different way.
I love, but now like my job, like now I get to go help people make money now, right? For what I do. I'm not like, it's not for myself. Like I get to go train it and be in stores and use a lot of that experience to be like, hey, I'm going to make you a whole bunch of money today.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. It's not about like, I don't care how much money I'm making. I just want to help you see like, hey, you can, there's things out there for you. Like God has a plan for you. God has a purpose. He's and you're sitting here because God had a plan and God has a purpose. And you have the audience that you have because of it and all that, right? Because you took that step and that's truly a step of faith, right? That you took. Yeah. Because you didn't know this. You didn't know we would be sitting here today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and the crazier part too is, I mean, like I said, it's been 1 year that I've been, I'll say here full time, right?
Yeah.
And just, again, at the time of this recording, I mean, this will be out in a few weeks, but at the, right now, I mean, I know you probably saw, but I sort of changed directions a bit with the future of On the Stack, separate from my show. Like my show, by the way, is not going anywhere. Like, I know I said that on Facebook just so people don't think, because I sort of rebranded in a sense, same logo, but I've taken, On the Stacks with Bill Corgan Jr. and I'm putting it over here, right? And then On the Stacks, the B2B service side of the company is, I've rebranded with a nice bright blue, and I redid my website and all that, and just made that announcement recently. But like I didn't think, even just in the last 1 year of my life since I, made the jump and I'm here, right? And when I first, left and I'm here, like things were good. Like I was like the path that I was on at that time, even a year ago, I was like, good. Like I hit the ground running. Like with this, like even though I had that heart incident and like that was kind of like an abrupt thing, I got through that pretty quick, thankfully. But the path that I was on then, like the model that I have now going forward is just different than what I had before. But I never thought within 1 year of like doing this full time, I didn't think that like this whole thing would have been turned upside down and I'd be going 180 degrees different direction with this company. But I'm very happy that it is. Like I'm so grateful that it completely changed from a year ago. But I mean I'm glad like this, like I've hunkered down the last like 8 months and just put in all this work behind the scenes.
You put a lot of work in, man.
Yeah. So
you've done a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
And like I said, I'm. Where do we get the Uncle Mark thing from, by the way?
Well, Verizon. I don't know what.
Yeah, but when did you start calling me Uncle Mark? And when?
I don't know.
Why did it happen?
I honestly don't know the exact origins. Maybe we'll have to consult with some of the old reps at the store. But I don't know. It was something at Verizon.
But you started it.
Did I? Yeah. It was me?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
You started it and you continued it. And that was in your eyes.
Does anyone else still call you Uncle Mark?
No.
Anyone else from there?
No. It was you, man.
But maybe it was. I honestly, I don't even remember. I feel like that's one of those things I'd be like, oh yeah, it was me. Came up with the, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it was something at work. But like, well, here's the thing. I mean, you definitely put it in an email. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think, and so
could be.
I don't know if I said it to you first, and then because that you put it in an email, or you put it in an email just being goofy because like you again like you know.
Yeah, we could see that.
Yeah, so like that's a possibility. So I don't know. Like it was either it was in an email and then I just picked up on it and I just ran with it because like I just thought it was funny because I just like I laugh. I think everything's funny, right? We had some good times back then, right? But
we did.
Yeah. So. Again, I honestly I don't remember, but it stuck.
Yeah, point being that I was watching you go through all this as a proud uncle.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah,
like, and from
you're still on my phone as Uncle Mark. You've been since
that's so great.
since 14 years ago.
Yeah, but just think like the time in between before I even came the other day and we sat down. It was like we had sushi that one time and before that, I don't even know. It was like a long time. We tried to get together a little bit here and there, but life just is so busy.
Yeah, right.
You got married, you had kids.
Yep.
I'm raising my kids. So, but you know what? One big thing for me, and I think this became a big thing because of how I grew up. My mom being a single mom, we would move around so often. Like, I think I lived with every single one of my relatives and like, we would just be here, there, wherever. And I never could get comfortable. Like I didn't want to build relationships with people because I felt like we're going to end up moving anyway. So, I'd be in this school district, that school district.
So like, were you always like in this area though? Like this region, like
upstate New York.
Oh, okay. So I don't think I knew that about you.
Yeah. Cornwall on the Hudson. Most of my family lived around there. Newburgh, New Windsor, all that stuff.
So did you live there most of your life? When did you move to Northeastern PA?
About 13.
So you were 13 when you came to like the Scranton, Dixon.
It wasn't this area. It was Hemlock Farms.
Okay.
Lords Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
But point being that like relationships for me, like if we build a relationship, that's life to me. Mm-hmm. Like you're my brother. Yeah. Like that's how it's more extreme.
No, nephew.
Well, okay, nephew, brother, whatever. I call everybody brother.
You're right. Yeah.
But that's more like important and extreme for me, and it's like if you're in my life, like I care about you.
Same.
I love you.
Way.
Like, and I'm going to do whatever it takes until you tell me, hey man, stop texting me. Or like, I don't want to hear from you anymore or anything like that. Until somebody tells me that, I'm going to make sure I'm going to keep trying to build those relationships. And I want to speak to this because a lot of people make this mistake. First of all, people are terrible at communicating these days.
100%.
Right? But I know how important it is to continue to, foster relationships. A lot of people do make this mistake. Oh, I reached out to this person and they never reach out to me. I'm always the one reaching out to them. And they say, oh, forget about this person. Forget about that person. Don't make that mistake and do that. I feel like that's a God-given gift that he's given me
to be the one to always
reach out and continue to have those relationships with people
and not have
I'm the guy that has to do it and
you're okay with that.
I'm content with that. I've been okay with that because I feel like there's a reason for it, right? But once again, that's a whole relationship and family type
because I think everybody could agree, and myself included, right? I'll throw myself in there. I've been the guy too who's been like, oh well, they don't reach out to me, so I'm not reaching out to them.
Yeah.
I was that way for a long time too, and maybe a little bit even up until recently. But I don't know, over the last few years, I mean, there's been a lot of crazy instances in my life where like I, to the opposite effect of that. I mean, but to your point was, I would go check on the guy next door to me, just because like I would send the text to whoever I would do, you know what I mean? Like, even though,
well, you just talked about going all the way down the sheet for somebody.
It's
a big deal.
Just
it's not like your family or anything.
Yeah,
it's like somebody that that you care about.
I literally just drove. We came in. I was all out of breath. Oh man, I just got back from Hershey. I just drove to Hershey. Went down and back today, and it was one of those things. I just felt like, when I heard the news about him, I was like, you know what? I just have to go see him.
Yeah.
And I just picked up and went.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I said, hey, are you, is it cool if I come visit? Can I, whatever? And I was just like, and he's like, yeah. Okay. I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow morning at 9.
And that was probably
cleared my schedule.
It's probably a huge deal to him.
Yeah.
Like a huge deal.
Yeah.
There's probably maybe some family members or
he definitely has some family
closer
stuff.
people that.
But I think he probably wasn't expecting me.
Yeah.
And one of the things when I first walked in the door, he said, I walked into his room and he said, hey, hey, thanks so much for coming. He's like, I really appreciate it. He's like, he's like, what's going on? He's like, you down this way today? I was like, no. He's like, you just came for this? I said, yeah. I said, I just came to see you.
Yeah.
And like, he was surprised, but in a good way, I said, yeah, I said, I want to come see you.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's it.
And it's such a blessing and a gift. Like you're willing to take your time to make that drive and back. Yeah. You probably weren't there. You were there for an hour. You were there for an hour.
There for an hour.
Right? You're down in Hershey. It's 2-hour drive.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So 4-hour turnaround.
Yep. Come and do this, by the way, which I wasn't even, there was no way I was canceling this. That was the thing. Like, I want to.
No, because I already canceled on you 3 times.
That's right. It's right.
But not because I'm a celebrity and I'm bougie. It was for other reasons.
Yeah, no, but for some reason, I don't know. There was just something, when I get like a weird intuition about something, I just have to act on it. Like, so, like I said, like when I decided, like, this was yesterday, and I was like, I just need to go see him. Like, once I felt that way, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, maybe I'll go in a couple of days. Like, I was thinking like, maybe I'll go. I was thinking maybe just go a couple of days, after today. Like I was, cause I had meetings, had meetings and stuff all day leading up to this right now today.
Yeah.
And, I was like, God, I really don't want to cancel those, actually, cause one of those meetings I already rescheduled on that guy a couple times.
So I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, not a podcast, but just like a business meeting. And but anyway, I had a few meetings scheduled, and I was just like, I didn't want to have to reschedule those, but I was just like, you know what? There was just something telling me just reschedule those meetings. Like, what's the big deal? Like, I could reschedule those. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to have to because I felt a little goofy, but yeah, it's not that I have to explain myself to anybody because I don't.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah.
I mean, you're your own boss.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I just, I was like, you know what?
Except at home.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
It's I think the kids are the bosses now.
Yeah. The kids are taking over the house.
We got two bosses at home. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what, I think yesterday morning, I just woke up, came downstairs, and I said to Jess, I was like, I'm going to go see Paul tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I was like, yeah. I'm just, and she's like, okay, cool. Like, she didn't even question it, like nothing.
That's a beautiful thing.
You know what I mean? Like, she was just like, okay. And like, I was like, yep, I'm like, I have some meetings in the morning. I said, I'm just going to reschedule them. I was like, I'm just going to go see Paul. So I said, the recording with Mark at, in the afternoon. I said, I'll just go down in the morning. I was like, I'll leave first thing in the morning, go down and see Paul, spend some time, and I'll be back. And that was it. And she's like, yeah, oh, cool. She's like, that's really great. Put some things together, whatever went down. Man. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, that's just, that's a gift to somebody. It really is, and not being family, nothing like that. You had some interactions with him. He's a friend of yours and all that. But just, your heart in that way too. Because I think one of the biggest things, I speak about this a lot. One of the biggest things to sacrifice in our lives is our time.
Oh, big.
Right? Yeah. It's like we hold on to it so dearly. It's like, I got things to do, and it becomes a justification. I can't do this, I gotta do that. I'm busy. And that it's love is an action word, right? Love is an action word, and love is sacrificial. So we're all busy. We're all busy. Yeah, we're all busy in this.
Everybody's got their own.
None of us have. Nobody has time. Have the time.
Nobody does. You make the time.
But if you if you care and you love somebody and it's really important to you, it's priority, and you have a desire for it, you'll make the time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that's a beautiful part of it, right?
Yeah.
So, man, oh man. But God is good. I have to. Well, here's the update of me now in my life. I have a great job. Absolutely love my job. I love what I do. I've been doing it almost 5 years. I drive about 1,400 miles a week.
That's a lot.
Which everybody's like, that's insane. But I get paid mileage, so
yeah. Not bad.
I'm just whistling and driving because I know I'm hearing the saying cha-ching, cha-ching. Okay, there's my bank account.
Yep.
But absolutely love my job. Remarried. My wife's from Ecuador. The way we met was all a God thing as well. I just like you did with On the Stacks, man. I was doing something silly. I don't know if you remember Sharpie Nation.
Yeah,
I was just writing Sharpies. I do. Here we go. This is another thing that started from me working at the copier place. I forgot about this. There's another thing that started from me selling copiers. This whole thing started. Okay. The Sharpie Nation started there too, because I love writing with Sharpies. I don't know. I just like the way they write. So I was writing these messages and then taking pictures and posting them on Instagram and Facebook, and I was getting good responses.
Yep.
So I felt God was like, take it to the next level, do something. So I started a group, called it Sharpie Nation, and ended up getting to about 4,000 members.
Wow.
Rest in peace, Sharpie Nation. I shut it down, and that was for a reason, because I felt God was leading me in that way.
Sure.
But my wife, that's my wife now, she ended up getting an invite to the group by one of my friends who she doesn't even remember being friends with on Facebook. She doesn't just randomly make friends with people she doesn't know. So I told him, I said, hey, invite as many people as you can to the group. So she was on that list somehow, some way.
That's how you met.
She got invited to the group. We became friends. We were both in a relationship at that time. Both of those relationships about the same time didn't work out. We started talking and all that. And we ended up having a video call. And honestly, probably like 3 days later, the I Love You came out. And it was so weird, but it felt so right. Right? It was like, should I really be saying this soon? I went through all these terrible relationships before that they weren't meant for me. They didn't work out. I was trying to force things I felt. But I was like, is this in my heart? I'm like, is this the right thing to do? But I felt such comfort doing it. And we both felt that way about each other. Now, meanwhile, she's in Ecuador, and never in a million years would I have thought of having a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Like even in another state. Now we're talking about another country here.
Right.
So yeah, we end up, we're doing video calls, Zoom calls, like here and there, and messaging each other throughout the day. And then kind of we made it official. I did the whole Sharpie Nation thing. I wrote down the one video call we did. I asked her to marry me, just with that. So I thought it made sense, right?
Yeah,
Because that's where we started.
sure.
So yeah, I asked her to marry me, just when she got on, I had to sign up and all that stuff. And I made it official 10 months. It was 10 months, and this was around COVID. I got to take a trip out there and make it official. So it was the first time we met in person. And I ended up getting COVID, and I got stuck there for an extra week.
Wow. Yeah.
So we took the extra week to go back to her family, and I met all her family and all that stuff. And then from there, we put in the visa process, and it took 18 months.
Wow.
To get her visa to actually come over. You talk about a test of patience.
Yeah, that's
and like,
yeah.
And but you know what? When you know it's right, it doesn't make a difference. Right.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I mean, we went through it. It was tough waiting. We had no idea when it was going to happen. It could have been 5 years down the road. Could have been like, that's tough to have that type of endurance and patience. But
yeah, but you've been through it.
Yeah. But yeah, look back, it's like, this is the rest of our lives. We know this is right this time. And it was built on our faith. It was built on what we both, stand on, which was God and our faith and all that stuff. So we knew it was going to be right this time. And yeah, 18 months later, she gets her visa, come over. We get married within 2 months, and now we're married over 2 years. And I always say, every time I get the chance to brag about my wife, I'm sure you do as well.
Of course, yeah.
She is the absolute best thing ever. She's the best person I've ever met in my whole entire life. Like, really, her heart for God, her heart for people, hard worker. She cares, she loves. And we were always kind of worried about, how that would be with like a blended family and all that stuff. I have 3 kids, that.
Right. Yeah.
So a little older now, not as young as your little tykes. Like my youngest is 14.
Which is crazy.
Which people are like...
It's crazy. Your youngest, like when I started at Verizon, you had just had your youngest.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's
2011.
Dude, it's so weird to even say that right now.
Yeah. So when I tell people I have a 23-year-old daughter, they're like, "What? Like, that doesn't even make sense."
It's like,
how old are you, bro?
You're 23. Yeah.
So thank God for good genetics.
Yeah.
But I always say, don't stress the little things in life, right? Keep smiling.
Yeah.
So
how are the kids, by the way?
The kids are great, man. I'm blessed with great kids. I really am. My youngest, he plays basketball all the time. Gianni's the middle guy. How old was he at that time? I'm trying to think. 2011. He was 04. He was 7 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all doing great. They're very respectful kids. That's and that's what I like to hear from people outside. Like, you raise these kids right in that way. It wasn't easy.
Yeah,
trust me, it wasn't easy. Like, there was a lot of difficult. Any parent knows there's a lot of difficult times. They go through different stages and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but her coming into the house brought something that was missing. Right. It used to just be me and my boys. My daughters moved out at that time. Mm-hmm. We would just kind of be doing what we had to do. Like, she brought that like cultural thing where, hey, I'm going to cook dinner. We're going to sit down and have dinner together.
Yep.
It was beautiful. I was like, we're not used to this, but it's great. She's a mean cook. Oh my goodness. It doesn't matter what I throw in her direction. She kills it.
Yeah.
And I love Asian. So it's so funny because I was telling people she hasn't cooked many Ecuadorian meals since she got here. Because I'm literally just on Facebook Messenger sending her all these Asian recipes. I'm like, make this, honey, make this. She's like, all right. So, but yeah, she's a wonderful cook. But that cultural thing, which we're missing a lot of times in America now.
Definitely.
How it used to be back in the 60s or 50s, right? Cooking, sitting down, eating dinner together.
A lot of it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. And that was kind of beautiful that she brought that into the home. And then, her love for the kids and she's just embraced this role of being a mom to them. And it's beautiful how she just kind of, like, the relationship she has with my kids now is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, it was organic. It wasn't forced or anything like that. I had to take a step back from a lot of things. I didn't want to, make her uncomfortable in a lot of ways. So it just happened, and that was her desire to, how do the kids see me? Do they see me as like the mother type or anything like that? Or am I just Adriana, just like somebody that lives here or dad's wife? And they really do. They look at her like, that's mom as well.
Yeah.
So we call her the bonus mom.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So
that's great.
So
man.
yeah, she takes care of the home. She loves to cook. She loves to clean, which I think is crazy. But hey,
teach his own.
I'm getting out of the way, man. You do your thing.
Yeah, more power to you.
So yeah, she's been wonderful. Like I said, I mean, I'm an ordained pastor now. We're both leading the youth group at our church. It's been a blessing. Just kind of letting God do his thing, but now in our lives, we have such peace and love and comfort and joy and like all these things, like all the good stuff, right? Like we live with this on a daily basis, like it's in us now. So, and like I said, I mean, our whole objective, our whole assignment now is like not to gather all these things. Like we're in a half double apartment. We're like, if we get a house, we get a house. It's no big deal if we have one or we don't. We love where we're at, right? The things don't matter anymore.
It's the people.
It's the people. That's where our hearts are. Like I would rather help somebody get a house than get a house myself. I would rather help somebody, be successful at this than my own success. Because the Bible said this as well. It's better to give than to receive. It's more we're more blessed to give than to receive.
I think it comes in, and then I mean, in my opinion too, I think it comes back, to you tenfold. It may not come back around, tomorrow, but whether you want to call it karma or whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in or not, I believe that those things do come back. They really do.
Yeah.
So,
Karma, whatever. Like I said, whatever you call it. In the Bible, it's sowing and reaping, right? But there is a concept of that.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And that's what we sow. We sow ourselves. We sow the love that we have inside of us. We sow, anything that we can give somebody or do for somebody. We want to be there. And just like, that's a beautiful thing what you did. And that's the same thing. Like, you don't have to be in my inner circle. Everybody has an inner circle, right? You don't have to be like somebody that I've known for 20 years or anything like that. Like, if I met you, if I know you, if we have a relationship, if something's going on in your life, I want to be there. I want to be with you on that journey if you allow me to.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Because I love that. And that's what I live for anymore.
That's great, man, because there's not a lot of people like that. At least nowadays.
Yeah.
Like you said, everybody's busy. Yeah. Everyone's busy. And one of the things that I picked up on you said before too, like when you said like you have peace and joy, and there's a couple other words you used too, but the one word that you didn't use, which it's interesting but good, is you didn't say happiness, and the one thing I picked up on was peace. And I just saw a video just literally within last week or two. I think it was like a monk or something. There was a video on Instagram. I'm just scrolling.
Yeah.
And he explained the difference between happiness and peace. And I'm gonna butcher it, but I'll try to do my best. It's basically is like
your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
I know that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's the beauty of these things is it's not perfect and it never will be, and that's cool.
No, it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
That's how we want it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but the difference between happiness and peace is if you're always just trying to be happy, you're never going to achieve it because nothing's ever going to be perfect. There's always things that are going to go wrong. But when you're at peace, you're at peace. You accept it. Like if you can't just accept the things are always going to go wrong no matter what.
Yeah.
And if that's going to make you unhappy, well then you're going to be unhappy and miserable.
Yeah.
But if you can just find a way to come to terms with being peaceful with, the good and the bad that are going on, well then you find peace, and peace is much better than happiness because you're never going to be happy. You know what I mean? Like some days you might be happy and some days you might not be.
Yeah.
But you're never going to be 100% happy because it's impossible. It's impossible.
Here's the thing. So happiness is based on happenings.
Right. And right now, I'm happy. Like tonight I might say I'm not. Something might piss me off. I might not be happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But joy, I feel that sustains.
Right.
That's
long term.
Like I can't just give away the joy that's like, I have this for a reason, right? And you know, I mean, I've said it a million times on this podcast, and that's my life now. It's all God, it's all Christ, it's my faith. That's how I live with what I have today. But the peace is knowing, just like you said, once again, another biblical thing. We will face trials,
right?
We will face troubles, like it's spoken, but here's the other part of it. Here's the challenge, right? And I think I'm probably going to put a message together on something like this. The Bible in those times tells us to rejoice when the trials come.
Wow.
Because it's an opportunity to test your faith. Rejoice in any circumstance.
It's like an opportunity to be better.
Yeah. Consider pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. Like, and that's the thing, is like, there's my challenge, and those verses challenge me in the way where I say, am I in a place in my life when the next trial comes, but the first reaction is going to be joy or rejoicing, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it helps me grow to continue to think of that as like, I want to be to the place, but you know, no matter what we go through, me and my wife together, like she's, you know, me and her are in alignment in that way. It's like, God's got it, man. Everything's in his hands. Like we just need to trust him. I mean, are we really living what we read? Is this the truth or is it not? Because you'll know if something is a truth in somebody's life by the way they live.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. It's really true. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Because like you said, like I think, you know, again, I think a lot of people, you know, like you said, care too much and hide behind, you know, the white picket fence, for example, you know, and I think everybody's been guilty of it at some point in one way or another. Yeah. I don't think there's probably no one really that could really ever say like, oh no, I never lived that way. Everybody has to a degree, you know? But yeah, man, it's wild.
It's wild. Yeah.
It's wild, man.
I think we were raised that way though, too, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like this society has such a, you know, impact.
And even more nowadays with, you know, I hate to say it, I mean, because I love social media. I mean, this whole thing, this whole brand,
you wouldn't
everything.
Be where you're at.
I wouldn't be, right, exactly. This whole brand, everything I've built here and, you know, I mean, literally, you know, and you were part of it, right? Yeah. This whole thing started on social media. But the point is that
I'm with my wife because of social media.
Right.
So there's a lot of
it's a blessing and a curse, right? Yeah, exactly. But
double-edged sword.
It is. So, you know, like you said, like obviously I think nowadays it's probably harder, you know, like the pressure that has been put on society. And when I say society, I mean, you know, obviously the kids and adults too, but kids and you know, and you know, they're living up through this, like, you know, you know, you're a little bit older than me, not much older than me. I'm not trying to date you. You're
still a young man.
You're still young. But like, you know, like when we grew up, like, you know, social media didn't come into the play until like, you know, for me, like I was in college, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, so like, you know, we didn't really grow up. Like, I'll say we were like, and I said this before on like an episode, I don't know, couple months ago, maybe, like we were the last generation who like we actually grew up without it. But then there was like a little part of like our early adulthood that we also experienced social media, but we lived like both. Yeah. Like we had that crossover where like we kind of sort of had a little bit of social media, but we also know the difference of not. And anyone after us doesn't know the difference because all they have is social media. Like they don't know the difference of no social media, any generation after us because they were born into it. Yeah. You know, like we were born obviously before it and we lived both. More so than not, but
I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Well, wait, are you an 80s kid or a 90s kid?
I was born in 89.
Okay, you're right on the cusp.
Yeah.
It's my wife too, 89. Yeah. So yeah, from what we saw when we were growing up to the transition of technology, and it was kind of technology. That's what it was. Yeah. It, you know, kind of advanced very quickly in that way, and like cell phones and like, you know, then all this. But you're right, because and that's, you know, that's a lot of what we talk to our youth about too, is because a lot of times your identity becomes that. You know, there's so much things thrown at you all the time, and filters and this and that. You honestly, like a lot of time now AI is coming around. You can't determine what's real and what's not anymore, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
So it's kind of crazy because it's like, you know, that could pull you in all these different directions, and you could really live your life in, you know, having that trap of comparison is like,
for sure.
Do I have this that this person has? Or because we know people don't post like the bad times in their lives
Yeah.
on Facebook. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the
Yeah.
happy times. We're at the beach and, you know, we're taking all
Yeah.
these photos.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, man, I want to live like they live. They're having great vacations and they're happy.
It's like, yeah,
all
well,
the
that's
time.
like once a week. You're one week out of the year.
The rest of the week, the family's a mess. They're arguing and
Right.
like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Miserable.
but
Yeah.
make it look good for the camera and social
Sure.
media. But, you know,
Yeah.
I think you get caught in that. Kids definitely
very
these days
easy.
get caught in the trap.
Yeah. Well, they don't, because they don't know the difference.
And even like, hey, you know, New Balances were like old people shoe back in the day.
Yeah.
Now all the kids made it cool, right?
Yeah, they're back.
Champion, you know, when they had that phase was like that was the low brand.
Yeah.
And now it's like that was the thing for a little bit. They already went through that phase. I found out for my son. He's like, oh, we don't do Champion anymore. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What else am I going to spend my money on now? Right now,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
essential.
Tell me where
the
to-
essentials hoodies and you
Yeah.
know, all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah.
He keeps me up to date with that because he's like, Dad, can I get this? I'm like,
You're
oh
like,
yeah.
oh, this must be the new thing.
The
huh?
bank of dad is open up 24/7.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, it's crazy how the trends, you know, they move so quickly now. But yeah, seeing, that's why I say I love that I grew up in the 80s, because seeing what we saw up until now, and just like, wow, so much happened within that time, and a lot just has to do with technology now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Crazy.
it's all how you use it, right? That's just like you said. It could
is.
be a good thing or
Yeah.
not. But I don't think you can really like survive in business these days
No.
without social media.
No, you have to.
Yeah.
And same thing with AI. Like if you're a business and you're not utilizing AI,
Get on it.
You have to. You just you have to. I mean, you really do.
Yeah.
And it's those that adopt it and then adopt it faster and learn how to use it to their advantage. Those are the ones that are going to win.
Yeah.
And I use it, so I'm going to win.
Yeah.
You like that?
I love it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always say my best friend now one of my best friends is ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I talk to ChatGPT more than anyone nowadays.
Yeah. I'm definitely throwing some things its way.
Yeah.
You know, most of the day.
Yeah,
but
it's very useful.
You have to, once again, you have to adapt to the resources. that you
Right,
have,
exactly. Yeah. And but I mean, it sounds silly to not use things like this. You know what I mean? Like if it's there, it's a resource. Like, you know, yeah, sure. Could there be negatives? 100%. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, it's not big. You know, all this stuff can't be bad. Sure, it could be.
Yeah.
But like, you use it to your advantage. It's there. Use it to your advantage.
But if AI is going to do something that would have taken me 2 hours in like 3 seconds,
Yes.
why wouldn't I do that?
Right. Exactly.
Free up time for yourself, right? Spend with your family.
Right. Because that's what matters most,
important,
man, is the time.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
But, you know, so yeah, I was just thinking again, obviously, you know, with this episode and, you know, and I know, you know, obviously, because, you know, we worked together back in the day and you were like assistant manager, right? Was that
Yeah,
like your role when, yeah.
Yep. Assistant manager, yep.
But like, you know, I always remember, like, again, just thinking back to those days and like to your comment, how you were saying before, like you said it a couple times, I think throughout the show, is like, you know, I'm living to help the other person succeed, like help you make money. I mean, like, you may not even realize it, but like you lived that way back then too. Like, I don't know if you realize that, but like you did, like, because I can remember that.
Yeah.
Like you literally, like you would pump us up like every day. Like you were always like, guys, like I want to help you make more money. And like you would, you know, you'd be on the sales floor and, you know, you would come help whoever needed help whenever they needed help. And it was never like, you were never mad. You were never angry. You were just there to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was different. You know what I mean? Like,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah. And like, I don't know if you realize that, but I think you know, you probably, I think you've been doing more of that, like more of your life than you probably realize.
Probably.
'Cause I think-
that's a good thought though.
It is. And I think, and you know, somebody could say something similar about me and I probably just don't realize it, because I think a lot of times we don't realize like those things about ourselves. It's hard to sort of remove yourself from yourself and take a step back and like look, right? But like I always say, like you never realize just by being you, whether you're a sales manager or not, like it doesn't have to be this exact situation, but just in general, just by you being you don't realize how much you might be, you know, affecting, like in a good way.
Somebody.
Yeah, or impacting somebody. And it also could go to the negative, but like, you don't
let
realize.
me put it back on you now, because you inspired me in a way. And yeah, I definitely do. That was my thing, was like when a lot of the managers were in the back, like just being, you know, managers that sit at the desk and just waiting
or
for
miserable.
waiting for somebody to say, hey, I need some codes, come out.
Right.
I would be.
You were on the front lines.
I love doing side by side selling with people.
You were.
Like,
I remember. I could literally, like, I'm picturing right now, like you being right here next to me,
or just like, or me selling everything and then just handing it off to the next person.
And you never want to take credit.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I do that now once again. But no, you inspired me in the way. So I got to give it back to you, right? You inspired me in the way. I was like, here's this young kid, right? and found out that, you know, your last name was a big name and known around the area, right? You know, especially in the Wilkes-Barre area, you know, because of business and all that stuff. And you know, a lot of people will think, oh, well, what is he doing here? Like, he's got it made already. You know,
why would he do that?
It's a family thing. You know, it's going to be handed down, obviously, to each generation. That's what they're going to want to do. So that's what kind of inspired me in the way is like, you wanted to make it on your own. You had something inside of you to prove. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm not just gonna take the easy route that everybody.
That was the easy route.
Right.
It was.
Yeah.
It was too easy. It just didn't, you know.
So that's how I looked at it. That's what inspired me. And I don't think I told you that before, but that's what inspired me. I'm like, this kid could have just, you know, had this, had that, but he's here. Like, what is he doing here? Like, what, like, why would you want to work here in the first? No, Verizon was great. We had a great time. Yeah. We met, like, made lifetime friends and obviously us and all this stuff. But thinking about it is like, hey, you could have taken that route and you're like, you know what? I'm not doing it that way. Right. Like, I want to show people, you know, that I have the skills and ability and all that stuff to come up on my own. Right. I'm not taking the hand-me-downs. Right. Like, I'm going to be, and this is why we're here today as well, too, because you had that inside of you. Right. It's like, I'm going to, like, I know my capabilities, you know, I know what can be, and I'm going to take that step and I'm going to do it. And no matter what happens or what anybody else says or whatever it is, like, this is what's in my heart and this is what's in my mind, and I'm determined. And that's what I saw in you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. You had a special place in my heart back then still.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I do remember, like, I feel like we really did connect.
Yeah. We
back then too. Like, you know, I don't know what it was, but we just
I felt like you were a little brother to me. I really did.
Yeah, I think that's probably also maybe why I stuck with the Uncle Mark. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it was, like, because like I said, like, you know, you're not that much older than me. But I guess because at the time I was just right out of college. Yeah, and that was my first real job. You know, so like, to me, like, you know, again, not you're not older than me by any means, like, not that much, but it just because, like, you know, you had that managerial role. And all that,
I was in it for a little while.
Yeah,
at that point.
And you had a lot of experience already in that business and in that industry. So
exactly.
Like, I took to you because you also took to me. Yeah, you know.
So. I was I kind of already made my way up, and you know, from the trenches of you know, being a temp at the Steamtown Mall, a little kiosk, and it's good story.
And the thing that I admire about you too, I mean, and you know, again, part of the reason, well, there's many reasons you're sitting here, right? But is because, like, you know, I look at you and, like, everything, first of all, just that story alone of you starting how you started as a temp, right? And working up to where you got to, like, in the company. But, like, you've always just found a way to keep going, no matter what. Even, you know, again, like, fast forward to your lowest point in life, like, you still found a way. Yeah. And I think that's so important, you know, and there's not many people, most people would give up and either, you know, I'll say it bluntly, like, either take the bridge literally, or just sit back and just, you know, be miserable working their regular 9 to 5 and just be miserable and go through the motions of life and never really be happy. Yeah, you know, like, and that's just as miserable as any other way of, like, just not like,
so many. That's
you know what I mean?
Life for a lot of people.
It is,
which is sad.
It is sad.
I'm thinking to myself, I know if I have to do something different in this way, if I wake up in the morning and I say, oh, I got to go do this, it's time for me to move on.
Time to change.
Because you're going to waste your life, you know, you're basically handing your time to somebody else. Yeah. Like, this is what I said, you know, when I got promoted at this job. You know, I talked to some of the higher ups when they told me I was getting promoted. But I said, you know, one thing about this job that I have now is, like, there's not one time that I woke up in the morning that I had to go to work that I said, oh man, I gotta go do this again. I was like, I know that I'm in a good place, and I like what I'm doing. Like, I love my job. Like, it's great. You know, if I do get to that point though, like, I'm at the point right now where I'm like, Lord, whenever you want to take me out, go ahead. Because, you know, 5 years of driving 65,000 miles a year is, you know, wears on you. But I'm really, you know, I'm ready. I feel like God has prepared me and my wife to take that next step into like full-time ministry and stuff like that. So, but I don't move until
it's ready.
Until it's ready, right?
Yeah.
So regardless whether it's exhausting or anything like that, I still got to say,
when the time's right, the time's right.
Yeah, thank God that I have this job. Thank God that it's a good job and I like it, and it puts food on our table, and it's everything like that. So I'm not, I don't make any sudden moves in that way where it's like he'll let me know when it's time and everything's ready.
Yeah,
let him open the door. I don't want to push it open.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to force it. Yeah. But I think we can kind of end on that though and leave it. A little bit of how you just said right before that too was just. If you wake up in the morning, and I guess we can just kind of pose this question. Hopefully people made it this far, and if you didn't, well, you're missing out here.
Yeah,
definitely for sure. That again, you don't have to make a decision tomorrow and quit your job, right? Yeah. Obviously, don't do that unless you're in a financial position that you're well off to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But if you wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what, I'm just not feeling this anymore. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
99.9, maybe even 100% of the time, your gut and your intuition is right. And I believe that. I've always followed it, and it's never been wrong for me.
Yeah.
It's never been wrong. You know what I mean? Like when I just get those feelings, like I just know. And when you know, so like if you're even questioning it in the slightest bit, it's already over.
Yeah.
It's already over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think people need to
take inventory. That's what I call it.
There you go.
Take inventory of your life.
That's a good way to put it. Take inventory. And that includes people, your job.
Yeah, everything.
Whatever it is.
Everything.
Every
area and aspect.
If my show's not, take inventory of my show. If it's not giving you any positive to leave my show, I'm kidding. Don't.
Yeah.
At least I
no
hope
worries.
it's not.
We're rebranding.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we got a new audience now anyway. Go away. I'm kidding. But no, this has been great. This was like,
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was, this is one of those episodes that like, it was always like I said, I've been meaning to like have you on. I just didn't know like when, and it's just like until the time, and all of a sudden it just clicked with me whenever it did. I don't even remember when or how, but it just did.
Yeah.
And
it worked.
Again,
it was perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just say like, when the time's right, the time's right. And here we are, episode 250.
Yeah. Thank you for the privilege and the honor to be 250.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Mark Harris, this is the On the Stacks podcast and Loop Internet Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.